Welcome to ATN Society Watch. This is a program where we ventilate societal issues, give them aggregate attention with a view to profit solutions that will benefit humanity. And today on Society Watch, we have a number of issues we'll be looking at. First, on insecurity, Unicol students flee campus over armed attacks. And from Ekiti State, Governor Oyèbánjí blames poor supervision for event center collapse. And from Kaduna State, Governor Sani launches mobile clinics, a women, children shelter. And on humanitarian crisis, federal government seeks support to save 16 million Nigerians from humanitarian crisis. But these are the issues that we're looking at today on Society Watch. Our guest for today is a public affairs analyst. I'll introduce him to you shortly after this break. Just joining us, this is Society Watch on Atlantic Television Network. And our guest for today is a public affairs analyst, Dr. Udoye Bethel Raymond. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you, Miss Anita.
And happy birthday in arrears. I was even expecting you would have brought a portion of the cake today.
My birthday was on the 1st.
Yeah,
and
today is just for...
No, but you didn't wish me happy birthday. I'm even angry with you.
I'm wishing you now.
No problem. We'll sort it out.
It's all right. So let's look at our first issue for today on insecurity. Many University of Calabar students reportedly fled the campus following attacks by masked gunmen on the Malabo Republic hostels on Saturday night. Many reportedly left on Sunday as they feared the gunmen would return. The armed invasion happened around 9 p.m. on Friday and lasted over 30 minutes without campus security intervention. According to the Malabites, the gunmen successfully seized several phones and money belonging to students in Hall 4. A victim who gave her name as Helen Akpan said the armed gang successfully operated in room 228, 227, and 232 and was shooting sporadically. The sound of their guns struck fear and caused confusion. The unfortunate incident has instilled fear among numerous students and business proprietors in the Republic. Findings show that some of the students robbed were from various departments. Some of them included Joshua Bassi from the Anatomy Department, Bartolomeo Atekon from the Banking and Finance Department, Ofre Sharon from the Medicine Department, Ekpendo Theophilus, Jeremiah Edet, and Chinoso Collins from the Civil Engineering Department. The perpetrators of the Dastardly Act made away with their mobile phones, laptops, and power banks. A student's leader who gave his name as Peter explained. I am really worried because a school is like a community of its own that has its own security, and it's expected that their security are really going to be on their toes doing their job. To hear that a robbery incident lasted for 30 minutes with gunshots accompanying the robbery attack, and there was no form of security intervention within the time frame, so they successfully carried out their operations and left without any form of security intervention. I really feel worried about all of that. And this is like a trend right now. a couple of weeks ago, we had the University of River State University bothered about it.
Yeah.
We also had a polytechnic in Ekiti State worried about it, and here we have Unical. What exactly is going on in our higher institutions and security?
The thing is, I'm not really surprised with the trend. Okay, let me just call it the trend that is happening now. I'm not surprised because no matter how we see to it, everything boils down to the government. And these are students who we are looking up to carry to collect the baton from us. And if the government cannot do anything, and the most striking thing about it is not that they were not attacks in the normal school hostels, as in outside the school campus. This is inside, like the incidents in the
River State University.
Yeah, River State University. And the students, because I was following the event, they said that this is not the first time it has happened. And I equally want to commend the Nigerian students. They're actually doing well by now speaking out, because this thing has been occurring before. It has been happening, as in repeatedly. But I want to commend them for speaking out too. And is uncalled for. It's uncalled for that. Some parents never wanted their children to stay out of the school environment because of this same insecurity. But how come it's happening inside the government presumed school?
You said you're not surprised with the trend. Why are you not surprised?
Yes, I'm not surprised. See, you know why I said I'm not surprised? When our leaders are not doing the right thing, I am blaming everything on negligence on the government. Yeah, that is why I said I'm not surprised. I'm blaming everything on the government. This is government-owned institution, not a private one. I can beat my chest and say that this thing will not happen in any private university. Can beat my chest and say, these are the people, these are the children that their parents entrusted in you. Of course, if I don't have if I don't believe in any school, why would I send my child there? And of course, you shouldn't expect a parent to, any child who is of age, who is in the university, I can attest for his or herself. And this thing equally boils down on the government. These children are entrusted in your care. These children are, as in, they so much believed in your institution. That was why they allowed them. In fact, some parents did not allow their children. Okay, like I said, they don't allow their children to stay out of the campus simply because they don't, this same issue. And we saw it happening, and it's a sad one.
It's a very sad one. Now, if you say we are going to blame the government, to the best of my knowledge, these campuses have their own security, maybe the man o' war, the sheriffs, whatever they are called, they have security outfits on campuses. As much as they are not allowed to use firearms, but they have contact with the police. So in case of any situation like this, they should put a call across. But for 30 minutes and nobody is coming to the rescue of the students, are you going to blame the government for that? Is that not a negligence on the part of the security men?
It's not negligence, as in, it's not the fault from the security men. One, I've been to schools where they have armed men on the gate. And this is female hostel. Then what happens if they should have another person armed on those hostels? What happens? What happens if you have security cameras in our hostels in school? What will happen? At least from the entrance. See, why I am blaming the government, because had it been things like in place, we won't be having such thing. As in, look at what happened, the one in River State here. They said that it has not occurred, and nobody raised the alarm, not until the recent one. Had it been the government, It has been happening. So what measures did they put in place to make sure that such thing did not occur again, or to curb such menace in our institutions? It's wrong. I am blaming the government even 100%, because if our system is running the way it ought to, why will our students, people whom our parents entrusted on them, why would they be having losses? And I promise you, most of those students have their projects, have everything, as in on their laptops and phones. Then who will even replace it for them with this cash economy? I'm telling you. So telling me like I am blaming the government 100%. It has been occurring. So what measures did they put in place?
But what measures do you think they can put in place right now so we don't have a repeat? Because this seems like a trend.
And not just that they robbed them. They did not rob only one hostel. We know how the hostels are big in Nigeria. They I think like 2 or 3.
3.
Yeah, 3. Then for 30 minutes. Had it been they have a well-instituted security outfit, well, will such thing happen? And one thing is, Nigerians, Nigeria as a whole and the Nigerian government, we don't take premeditated actions. We always allow it to happen before we come, as in before they come in. And it's wrong. It has been happening in schools. Like I said, it's a trend. In Ekiti, in River State, they were even complaining. In fact, the one that even pained me more is that the girl said that she came to school a virgin. Yeah, and imagine a first-year student. Will she even come out of the trauma? Will she even come out of the trauma? Will she come out of the trauma? As in, these are people that they entrusted in our government to protect. The school is a small unit. So if you cannot protect the small unit, then what else are we doing? Must all the sectors in Nigeria fail? No, these are the questions to ask. Must all the sectors, the school is a small unit, and you cannot be for what happens? What happens? What will go wrong if they have CCTV cameras? Then they have somebody monitoring it 24 hours. What will happen? And if such thing, if they have such plans on ground, I don't think such will happen, because once the guys on what is it called, on the cameras found, they will raise alarm, then call the appropriate agents to take over. So everything I'm pointing hand on the government, because
now, if you're solely blaming the government for this, what are you going to say about the leadership of the schools? Talking about the vice chancellors and the boards of these schools, what are you going to say to them?
Who is funding the schools? I'm asking you, and you're mute. No.
Now, you know they have budgets. They present budgets.
No, who
they tell the government what they want.
See, I can beat my chest and say that. Mounting of CCTV cameras on the school, I think somebody might have dropped or asked them that they should look into it. Also, somebody might have brought that proposal. But in this country, we so much hand everything on God. God must not do everything. The trend now is people mounting CCTV. If individuals can do it, if individuals can do mounting the CCTV cameras in their house, their rooms, and the rest, then why won't our schools and the CV, the what is it called, the VCs and the school body governing body? See, we should wake up. We should. The whole sector is collapsing, and nobody's saying. Imagine the school. The trend now is schools, and it's wrong. What happens? How much will it cost? CCTV camera, mount it in the strategic places there. What will happen? It won't cost anything. But every year we have millions of naira as budget, and some of them have not even thought of, let's do this thing. And it has been happening, but our security, they got hand. I think that's that thing, as in, it should be what everybody, all of them will be saying. But it's wrong. It's wrong.
Very wrong.
It's very wrong. I think they should wake up to their task. And I pray such thing will not occur because the parents are not equally finding it funny, not minding how beautiful the economy is. So please.
And to even talk about the fact that most of the students are all Japar and everyone is seeming to look for better schools outside of the country or maybe private schools. What becomes of the public schools?
Will you blame
if we
anybody?
Continue like this?
Will you blame anybody? You won't. You won't blame anybody. Okay, thank God no life was lost, but properties were lost.
Yeah.
And I'm not sure that the school will even want to do anything. Of course, they won't. We know how Nigerian system works, but it's wrong. It's wrong, and they should. The appropriate authority should look into it and know how to go about it.
Well, as much as you say that this has been happening, I would still say it's still early for the government to do something, for the governing bodies of these institutions to do something and ensure we do not have repeats and that this does not escalate into a full-blown crisis in our society.
Yeah, we pray it shouldn't.
Yeah.
Pray.
Okay, let's look at our next issue from Ekiti State. Ekiti State Governor Mr. Abiodun Oyebanji on Sunday sympathized with the victims over the degrees of injuries sustained, expressed joy that no life was lost in the incident. Oyebanji, represented by the Deputy Governor, Mrs. Monisha De Afuye, said, "We thank God that no life was lost, but as a responsible government, we won't wait until people die before taking actions that can safeguard their lives. That is why it is most expedient that all government agencies must be responsive to their duties all the time. Let me sympathize with the victims of this devastating incident. Nobody prays for bad things to happen, but we need to be proactive in preventing occurrences of this nature rather than being retroactive. I know that if the building had been thoroughly supervised and certified fit at every stage of the erection, this incident could have been averted. It is just normal and procedural that all public buildings should be monitored and that they built to specifications and with standard materials used, because the common feature associated with building collapse now is for contractors to use substandard products," the governor said. The Permanent Secretary, Ekiti State Emergency Management Agency, Mr. Olajide Borede, said the Ekiti State Bureau of Special Projects will be here to do an integrity test on the building to ascertain whether it can be salvaged or be demolished outrightly. Recall that many persons were on Saturday injured as the roof of an event center used for burial ceremony reception collapsed at Ijero, Ekiti, in the Ijero local government area of Ekiti State. I mean, building collapse is not a new thing to us in this part of the world. It seems like every week there's going to be a particular incident, but fortunately no life was lost in this case. Now, when I saw, the first thing that came to my mind is the government acknowledging the fact that, well, there was some level of lapses in the supervision of that project at each point of the project. There should have been monitoring to ascertain the standard and quality of the project, but that was not done. The question is, who are we going to blame that on? Maybe Anita that is here, or maybe you. If such a thing was not properly done, who is the government going to blame it on?
Like I said, our government will always allow it to happen. Then come back to see that our security is in God's hand. Anyway, I commend the governor. I commend him. But he said that he's blaming the government, right? And tomorrow again, another one will happen. Imagine people that went for Iberia. and like I said initially, say our security they got that people that went for burial, now again, some of them are, but thank God there was no life that lost. Some of them are in the hospital. These are the same thing I'm saying about it. Don't you have standard organization in Nigeria? that ascertain the quality of goods being imported in Nigeria, or the yes, that comes into the country. We have standard organization. Then what are they doing? When I talk and blame the government, people say, why will you be? But on their own, there's a lot of lapses. There's a lot of loopholes. And who controls the seaport where those things come in? The same government. Who orders the standard organization? Still the government. Then what are we saying? Looking at what happened in Ekiti, it is because of the inferior materials. And those things are sold in the market. And most of them are imported. So who certified those goods? Who certified those materials? And the governor saying that they are supposed to be supervised. How many of the government agencies are even working? How many of the name again are working? Why most of for you to go even certify your land, for you to make sure do you know the process we pass through? See, I am blaming the government because one, the process of going to get those guys or to even register your property, you pass through rigorous process that you might not even want to do anything with any government agencies again. So everything boils on who certified those materials used in the building.
So are you trying to say that because of the rigorous processes people go through to get these certifications, they rather cut corners?
It's possible. And there are people you even want to go and call, or the people you even want to go and verify if your land is genuine or your land is not on government property. You know the process and the money they want to extort from you. And I want to equally hand our security, our life in God's hand. Thank you, Father, for the miracle you did, because we didn't lose anybody. How can people come for a burial ceremony, then Nigeria, God will help us. But the thing is, we need to wake up. Let's stop all this premeditated. Had I know. Tomorrow it has been happening. I think it happened in Lagos, happened in Abuja. And what are those agencies doing? And these people are being paid from government coffers. Then how are they not carrying their duties? Not sincerely. If you're building now, I'm telling you, once you're building, or just get those papers that nobody will come to supervise anything. Just make sure your papers are complete. And nobody will come again to know the level you want to go. Or nobody cares. And meanwhile, we have people in the helm of the affairs that those duties are delegated to. People who are supposed to be checkmating to know. Now he's saying that the government did not supervise. Tomorrow, what will happen? Tomorrow, the people in charge, what will happen? And moreover, they should look into the standard organization should look into the quality of materials being imported. Yeah, most of our materials are imported from China, yes. But the same China is producing for the US. The same China is producing. Then, this is the only country where you will go to buy anything, and they will tell you this one is original one. If you pay higher, you get this one. This one is substandard. Why should we be having substandard materials in Nigeria?
I mean, all fingers are not equal. You can afford the one you can afford. Maybe.
And then how will this building collapse stop? We should have seen. And moreover, most of the materials are supposed to be produced here, so that the government will equally monitor the quality and ascertain the quality and the level and the strength of something called strength of the materials being produced. Why? Why are we not doing that?
Another issue I have is, over the years, I've heard people say, or governments say, well, the documentation and approval you got for this project was not done appropriately, and so we are going to revoke that certificate, or we are going to revoke that approval and all of that. I mean, this was a government agency issuing someone
fake.
I'm not going to say fake because as at then it was genuine.
Yeah, okay.
And so a new government comes aboard and says, well, whatever they issued to you then wasn't legit.
Like the incidents of your neighbor. That's happening with your neighbor station just now. Although I just passed there now, but it's disheartening. It's disheartening. All these things are issued. All the papers are issued from the government. It's disheartening, and I think what is good for the ganja should also be good for the gender. And let do things right. Everything equally boils down on the government. Why should there be another government in government? The place where you will go, somebody will issue his government certified paper, and another person will come to condemn it. It's wrong. It's wrong. I think it's called witch hunting, and it won't go well. It won't foster development. With the current incident now, how will investors come? This okay. Let me just blow it out. Yeah, the issue with the AIT is wrong. This man bought the land with C of O. Then how would foreign investors come? No, let's tell ourselves the truth. So with all these things, you're equally scaring foreign investors away. That somebody will buy a property with certified paper, and you come and tell him that the paper is not correct, or the paper is no, it's not. It's not telling good. And moreover, somebody was asking me a few days ago, say if they are revoking him his papers, then what is making us one in the country? Even inside our so-called country, we are equally discriminating ourselves. It's wrong. It's wrong.
I think unfortunate. But
it's not funny. It's not funny at all.
For business owners, for people who are investing in properties solely for business reasons, shouldn't they have some level of consideration as to the quality of materials they're going to be using? I think there was an event center sometime in Lagos where some children went to have fun.
Yes, that collapsed.
Someone touched a naked wire. I mean, in an event center.
No, it should be. It's in a school. I think.
No, that's a different one. This was an event center, and then the children went and they were just playing around. There was a naked wire somewhere, and the child got electrocuted. Yeah.
Sometimes it's negligence. It's negligence. You know, we take a lot of things in this country for granted. We take a lot whole of things for granted. We always want God, to come and do everything for us. Meanwhile, He has provided everything for us, everything we require, everything we need as humans. The highest mineral resources we have is our brain, and with the level of development in the world now, scientists are even saying that we've not made the use of 10% of our brain. But in Nigeria, I don't think we use. It's funny. It's funny at all. And the engineers and the owner of the properties also should also be blamed. Not just the government alone, but we must point out where the lapses, where the government is failing. And moreover, let me just take it that the owner of the building he's a novice. And the engineers or the contractors might go and get what they want from the market. You see where the government link comes into substandard materials. So I think if there are no substandard materials, I think such things will not be happening. And again, the strength of materials. How are we ascertaining the strength of materials? And again, the terrain. You know, most times we take a lot of things for granted. That is why you see when people build. Sometimes if I walk around the town and see the kind of buildings being submerged, and I began to ask, where is our brain? You know, I tell people, whatever you're building, even if it's a new environment, make sure your foundation is high. Because there is every tendency that new government might want to develop some areas and build roads and with the level of your building, it's the development, the road construction might not affect your house. And it boils down on the contractors too, they should do something like the child you said that died. Are you telling me that the event center have not been seen that that's naked, that place is naked, that the wire is naked? See, we are too careless, and we should start. In fact, most of the things that happens in Nigeria, I call it a reproof. It's also another avenue for us to go home and rearrange ourselves. It's a reproof because we should learn from other people's mistake. That wire has been naked for, should I say, only God knows when. And we took it for granted, and they took it, not me. God will not God will not allow me to make such mistake. And they took it for granted. And it's wrong. It's wrong. I think our negligence in this country is alarming. Let's not push blame only to the government. I know they have been flopping, but we still need to do our part. You know, we still need to put things in place, things that are not right, and I think such thing wouldn't have occurred. How will you even tell the woman, the person that lost her child, to come there the next day? And maybe these are fun seekers. You know,
very unfortunate, the kind of
very unfortunate.
We get to hear and see in this country. We just hope everyone is going to live up to their responsibilities. The government, owners of these event centers, and all of them. Everyone is going to do what they have to do so that we do not end up losing people or getting people injured and hospitalized because of our own negligence. We'll just go on a very short break, and we will be right back. Welcome back. If you are just joining us, this is Society Watch on Atlantic Television Network. And our next issue is from Kaduna State. Kaduna State Governor Uba Sani on Sunday unveiled 5 state-of-the-art mobile clinics to attend to the medical needs of the citizens of the state. The governor, as part of activities to mark his 100 days in office, also commissioned Women and Children Shelter along Katuru Road in the metropolis. Represented by his deputy, Dr. Hadiza Balarabe, at the event, Sani said, by what is intended, these drugs will further serve to close a geographic action gap to healthcare services. With these drugs, screening and diagnosis of ailments will be brought to the doorstep of the citizens of Kaduna State. Our administration is committed to taking all necessary steps to make significant progress towards achieving universal health coverage. Our vision is to build and strengthen an enhanced health system that is adequately equipped, well-staffed with comprehensive, accessible, and affordable services, and that is oriented to deliver a distanced standard of care. To this end, we undertook an innovative approach to better our state's healthcare system. Among the initiatives we took, we have procured state-of-the-art mobile diagnostic units that will facilitate the provision of quality diagnostic services to our far-to-reach, hard-to-reach, and other undeserved communities. These mobile units will offer a range of services, including maternal, newborn, and child health interventions, radiology services, and all laboratory diagnoses of ailments such as malaria, HIV, hepatitis B and C, tuberculosis, and many more. Meanwhile, the governor, while commissioning the Women and Children Shelter, frowned at the magnitude of abuses that women and children were subjected to in the society. Well, before we even look at all of these independently, let's talk about the governor's gesture marking his 100 days in office. What's your take?
You called it what?
His gesture?
It's not. Don't call it gesture. It's not. It's not. It's not his money.
But he is doing this to mark his 100 days, you know?
Marking 100 days of it. Anyway, I commend him for at least having such initiative and the rest. But for you, let me equally settle your issue first. Calling it a gesture is not. These are taxpayers' money. Yeah, and it's our money too. Because being from the Niger Delta, we know the government, they are being paid to do those things. And but why I want to commend him is for him to even think out such, because in the north, I think child mortality rate is high there, and moreover, some of the areas are deserted because of lack of basic amenities. I think it's a very good initiative. But one thing I should equally call him to order is the sustenance. You know, Nigeria, we know how it is with our government policies and the rest. And it's a good policy anyway, taking medical assistance to the local communities and the interiors. It's okay, it's a good one, but he should not just launch it because of his 100 days in office, so that I will clap for him. I will not clap for him, but I will want to commend him. I will not clap. Because
that's why I called it a gesture, because he didn't do this all alone.
No, calling it gesture is like it's coming from his pocket.
I mean, he's marking his 100th day in office and he decides to do this.
Yes. Why I'm equally kicking against that word, gesture. We know we are Nigerians.
Yeah.
And marking 100 days in office, they might want to bring up heaven and earth that they've initiated. But what we are looking at here in Nigeria is sustainability. How long will it last? I could remember during a Goodluck regime, he built Alamajiri schools. And those schools were built in interior villages where the cow rearers can equally have access to education. But it's unfortunate, and I can beat my chest and tell you that none of those places are functioning today. So these are the things, and it's good to bring up such initiative. It's very good. I commend him and his deputy. He's a doctor. I commend him. But the fact is, how sustainable will it be? How long will it last? And such government policies should be a long-lasting one. In as much as there is government in place, let it sustain. Because he might, after his regime, the next person might come and scrape it out. But the thing is a good idea. But where I'm hitting on them is let it be sustained. We are initiating, I mean, like radiography, comes out X-rays and the rest. Then HIV/AIDS, of course, is a good one. It's a good one. Then a lot of all those things listed is good. But the thing is, the sustenance is what we are kicking. Is what I am kicking against. I want him to sustain it, not just because of his 100 days and tomorrow everything will go down the drain.
You're talking about the sustenance. I'm also looking at the implementation. I mean, let's ensure that this gets to, he said, the far to reach and the hard to reach. Let's ensure that this gets to this group of people.
This is another point. I've gone to somewhere. I think those days we used to have drugs from PTF. I think PTF or so. We used to have drugs. They will write these drugs are not for sale. But you go to some pharmacies and chemists, and you will see those drugs that are not for sale in shops, in chemists and pharmacy shops. That is the thing. The people in charge, would they be that human to actually distribute the drugs to the people? These are the thing. Will they so much value their conscience and value life that they want to do their duty, discharge their duty with high level of diligence? And most of the government policies fails because the people in charge are not managing it well. Thank you for bringing it up. The thing is, let us pray that the drugs actually get. But most times it's in Kaduna. But most times you go to Kanu and see those drugs with label Kaduna Kaduna Free Health Services and it's not funny. It's not funny at all. I think the government should equally delegate people that will handle those offices should be people with high integrity, people that have value for life. In as much as I know our government does not have value for life, but his initiative is very good. But they should, and the people in charge of the distribution should know that any life lost as a result of their negligence, that the repercussion will definitely come. There are some things you do and go through, and there are some things you do that you will not go through. The repercussion will come. So they should know that the life and the well-being of those people that the government have asked them to, those communities that have asked them to go and visit, they should know that the lives of those people are in their hand. In as much as I know God is, but we also have our own role and this thing to play. So I'm charging them. I'm charging those people in charge that if anything happens, since the initiative have been launched, the life of those people, their health-wise equally is in their hand. And anything that happens to them, a day of reckoning is coming that they will definitely give account. And this is not the one you say, God forgive me. There are some things that God will forgive, and there are some ones God will not forgive you. Yes, so they should be careful and discharge their duty with high level of diligence, which everybody, every well-meaning Nigerian that buys the idea is equally looking up to them. And also, it's a wake-up call for the government too. Our governors too should, I think, borrow a lift. I don't think there's anything wrong in our government borrowing a lift from their colleagues. Yeah. It's a very good initiative.
Now let's also look at the shelter for victims of domestic violence and abuses. I'm talking about women and children. Now, when I saw that, I'm like, wow, this is amazing. This is a great one. But if I looked at it side by side with the condition of living at the IDP camps, the first question that comes to my mind is, how can the government go about this so that people don't end up in worse situations that they were in the first place?
You know, they did well anyway, but we have millions of people in the IDP camp. And what brought about them staying in IDP is a result of insecurity. And he has not addressed that issue. Building those houses is good, women and children. Are you trying to separate them from their husbands? So are you trying to separate them from their families? Are you trying to separate them from their livelihoods? I think such project they might not sustain it, because instead of giving me a fish, tell me how to catch the fish. Instead of building those houses, why not tackle the insecurity in Kaduna, mainly southern Kaduna, that people are being slaughtered like goats and cows every day? I think the government we do a lot of things. We do a lot of things that at the long run will not be able to sustain. Those people you brought out from their ancestral homes or their villages and their towns, how will you be catering for their food and the rest? Who pays for their daily upkeeps? How will they continue to manage their lives as citizens of the country? I think building the house or the shelter is a good one, but it's not what they need. People need to go back to their ancestral homes. They need to go back to their house. They need to go back to their homes where they can be able to mix up with their family members and the rest. Not them going back to go and die. I think the government has a role to play. I think they should do the needful. They are not doing the needful. What is the needful? Tackling the insecurity in Southern Kaduna, mainly Southern Kaduna, that are dominated by Christians. Excuse me.
Sorry.
I think he should tackle the insecurity. And you cannot build the houses build shelter for only women and children where their husbands are far away from them and their livelihoods are equally far away from them. I think
these are the victims of domestic violence. And so if you're talking about separating them from their families. Maybe if they tomorrow decide to settle, maybe they can reunite with their families. But for the time being, when their lives are in danger, they need to be somewhere safe. Don't you think that is the idea?
A lot of things cause those domestic violence. Psychological issues. When the man or the woman his physique, is it physique? Yes. His mind is not stable.
His psyche.
Thank you very much. His psyche is not stable. Why wouldn't there be domestic violence? And not just creating a shelter for them. How has the government gone? How have they gone to address those issues that is leading to one among the issues in the north? I know they're called the domestic violence. One, violence is one. Child marriage, one among them. And it's somebody who doesn't have feelings for anybody. You compare him to go and marry the person because you think he or she is of age without any formal education, without even knowing, oh, look, why wouldn't there be? So they should equally look into those things. As in, a lot of Nigerian men are not with their mind, they are not with their senses any longer because of how the country is going. So I think let those issues be addressed first. Call conference, call general conference, send people out to communities, sensitize them on how to manage their homes. As in let's start from the imam, let's start from the mosque, start from the churches. I think to an extent, we will avert those about building houses for them. I see it's a good one. It's a good one, yeah, good initiative. At least they were able to think it out. But for how long would they sustain it? As in separating the man from the family. Then what if the man go to marry tomorrow? What happens? He will continue from where he stops without proper sensitization, without proper education, as in educate them on what marriage, childbearing is all about. So I think they should. I could remember those days. Society for Family Health, which I worked for, SFH.
Yeah.
Yes, SFH. They were going schools to schools, churches to churches, educating people on how to both childbearing and you find out now that most of us go into marriage and mainly in the north without proper guidance and counseling. Without proper guidance, most of us marry because we are of age and we just need to marry. So I think the government should equally create a venue where people go to talk to them. You know, forcing your wife when she's not in the mood, I think it's rape. And moreover, most of our men will know how romantic they are, forcing yourself on the woman, and the woman might want to react. So, and a lot of things, a lot of those vices, I think the government should look up to. They should equally create avenue where, seeing this thing is predominant in their area, they should create avenue where employ people to go to churches, go to houses to educate them. Okay, ask the wife, what are you passing through? How is your husband treating you? Are you equally feeling that you're in the same marriage? Are you enjoying your marriage? I think the mosque, the churches the government should take it upon themselves, create agencies where they go to churches, streets, houses to talk to parents, should I say parents, husbands, guardians, and
well, these are beautiful gestures. Yeah, well, let me not say gestures. These are beautiful plans and projects
I think
the governor of Kaduna State. But like you have said, he needs to do more.
Yeah, sure.
He needs to do more to ensure that these projects are implemented very well and that the people benefit and that they are sustained. And then much more than creating shelters for victims of domestic violence and gender-based violence, they should ensure that the root cause, the major problem,
should be tackled.
Is tackled, so we can have better families.
Better society.
Yeah, better societies. Well, this is a much we'll take on the program. Thank you so much, Dr. Bethel, for joining us.
Thank you very much.
And thank you, our viewers, for being out today. I am Anita Obara. If you missed anything, you can just follow us on our social media platforms, Twitter, Atlantic TV Net, Facebook and YouTube at Atlantic Television Network, Instagram and TikTok at Atlantic TV Network 1. Do remember the peace and unity are the parties to progress.